Yeah, I mean, it was still a shock. I was at the Back to the Beginning show at Villa Park a couple of weeks back, and although Ozzy looked very fragile on stage for sure, he was very clearly present and in the moment and delighted to be there. There's a lot of emotion on stage and off it. It was an incredible afternoon, and it really has unexpectedly but somewhat fittingly served as a true farewell to him. We were quite shocked at the news, but what an amazing way to go out. Ozzy Osbourne wasn't just unarguably the most famous, I think, singer in the history of heavy metal, probably the most famous personality in heavy metal, full stop. He was the ground zero for where it all started. Him and his four Black Sabbath bandmates, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, built the foundations of heavy metal as we know it. Every single thing that has come from metal, musically, culturally, its influence on society itself has all come from that first Black Sabbath album and everything that followed. It is impossible to overstate Ozzy's importance to the metal scene and his influence on not just singers, but like I said, metal fashion, metal culture, everything to do with the world of heavy metal. It starts with Ozzy and his Black Sabbath bandmates. It's ever more difficult for musicians to do something different, I think. But even in the late 60s, early 70s, rock and roll was very well established by then. I think if you'd asked Ozzy and his Sabbath bandmates how difficult it was to sort of do something different, they probably would say that they weren't really necessarily going out of their way to do something different. They were just playing the music that came naturally to them. And, they were four working class boys from Birmingham, an industrial town in the Midlands in England. I think you can hear a lot of that influence in the sort of the darkness and the realism and the grittiness of their music. They were just writing what came out. That's what most of the great artists do. And the fact that it happens to be genuinely game-changing, influential, unique music is just, I think, part and parcel of being a great artist and an amazing performer. There's a very cross-cultural appeal to Ozzy, and it's fascinating, really, because if you'd ask people what they thought of Ozzy Osbourne, especially the sort of mainstream media, and especially over in America, where they had things like the Satanic Panic and all of that, people thought he was some kind of like devil worshipping monster. He was sort of seen as this boogeyman almost of music for a while. And to go from that journey to coming into this funny, cuddly, hilarious, charismatic father on a reality TV show seen by millions was an unbelievable journey. And it sort of helped to embed him as a cornerstone of pop culture in the 21st century, I think, because that was Ozzy every bit as much as Ozzy was the fire-breathing, chest-beating, jumping around, arm-waving frontman on stage with a rock and roll band. He was also a father, he was a beloved family member, and he was just a normal guy. And I think it was great that his role in the Osbournes sort of helped people to see that and establish him as a real national treasure, I guess. Yes, Ozzy Osbourne did bite the head off a bat. It was thrown on stage by a fan. He insisted throughout his career that he thought it was a rubber bat. He soon found out it wasn't, and I think a few rabies shots later made him realise that wasn't the best idea. Well, there's quite an emotional lyric on one of his more recent albums, on a song he did with Elton John, when he says, "I don't want to die an ordinary man," and I think he just wanted to be known, like I said, as a performer. And I don't know if he'd be comfortable with the word rock star, but he felt most at home on stage for sure. He loved performing for fans. He loved singing. He loved being that on stage fun personality. And I think that mixture of that sort of rock star status he attained with just the absolute down to earth normal guy from Birmingham who happened to make it big is Ozzy. And I think I'd like to think that he would be happy with people knowing that. Ozzy Osbourne's legacy and Black Sabbath's legacy will never go away, if nothing else purely for the fact that heavy metal is here. It is one of the most thriving, passionate and widespread subcultures on earth, and that all leads back to Black Sabbath. I think specifically when it comes to Ozzy and Sabbath's music as well, absolutely you will see people celebrate and discover that music over and over and over again.